Sting musician.
Gordon Matthew Thomas Sumner CBE, better known by the stage name Sting, is an English musician, singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, activist, actor and philanthropist. He is best known as the principal songwriter, lead singer, and bassist for the new wave rock band The Police and for his subsequent solo career. Sting has varied his musical style, incorporating distinct elements of rock, jazz, reggae, classical, new age, and world beat into his music. As a solo musician and member of The Police, Sting has received 16 Grammy Awards for his work, receiving his first Grammy for Best Rock Instrumental Performance in 1980, 3 Brit Awards, winning Best British Male in 1994 and Outstanding Contribution in 2002, a Golden Globe, an Emmy Award, and several Oscar nominations for Best Original Song. He was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2002 and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of The Police in 2003. In 2000, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for recording. He was named to the International Best Dressed List Hall of Fame in 2001. Including his years with The Police, Sting has sold close to 100 million records worldwide. In the UK, he has been awarded 7 platinum album certifications, 3 gold and a silver, and in the US, 9 platinum and 3 gold certifications. In 2006, Paste magazine ranked him 62nd on their list of the 100 best living songwriters. He was ranked 63rd on VH1's 100 Greatest Artists of Rock, and 80th on Q magazine's 100 Greatest Musical Stars of 20th Century. Sting has also collaborated with other musicians, including the duet Rise and Fall with Craig David and the #1 hit All for Love, with Bryan Adams and Rod Stewart.
Early life.
Sting was born in Wallsend, North Tyneside, Tyne and Wear, England, the eldest of 4 children born to Audrey, née Cole, a hairdresser, and Ernest Matthew Sumner, a milkman and engineer. He grew up in the shadows of Wallsend's historic shipyards, which made a deep and lasting impression on him. Young Gordon would often assist his father with the early morning milk delivery rounds, and by age 10 he became obsessed with an old Spanish guitar that had been left behind by an emigrating friend of his father. He attended St Cuthbert's Grammar School in Newcastle upon Tyne. He would often sneak into nightclubs like the Club A Go-Go, where he would watch acts such as Cream and Jimi Hendrix, artists who would later influence his own music. After jobs as a bus conductor, a building labourer and a tax officer, he attended Northern Counties College of Education, from 1971 to 1974 and qualified as a teacher. He then worked as a school teacher at St Paul's First School in Cramlington for 2 years. Sting performed in jazz bands on evenings, weekends, and during breaks from college and from teaching. He played with local jazz bands such as the Phoenix Jazzmen, the Newcastle Big Band, and Last Exit. He gained his nickname after he performed wearing a black and yellow sweater with hooped stripes while on stage with the Phoenix Jazzmen. Band leader Gordon Solomon thought that the sweater made him look like a bee, which prompted the nickname Sting. In the 1985 documentary Bring On the Night he was addressed by a journalist as Gordon, and replied, "My children call me Sting, my mother calls me Sting, who is this Gordon character?" In a 2011 interview for Time magazine, he stated, "I was never called Gordon. You could shout Gordon in the street and I would just move out of your way."
Musical career. The Police.
In January 1977, Sting moved from Newcastle upon Tyne to London, and soon thereafter he joined Stuart Copeland and Henry Padovani, who was soon replaced by Andy Summers, to form the new wave band The Police. Between 1978 and 1983, they released 5 chart-topping albums, and won 6 Grammy Awards, and 2 Brit Awards. For Best British Group, and for Outstanding Contribution to Music. Although their initial sound was punk-inspired, The Police soon switched to reggae-tinged rock and minimalist pop. Their last album, Synchronicity, which included their most successful song, Every Breath You Take, was released in 1983. According to Sting, who appeared in the documentary Last Play at Cheer, he decided to leave the Police while on stage during the 18th August 1983 concert at Shea Stadium because he felt that playing that venue was Everest. While never formally breaking up, after Synchronicity the group agreed to concentrate on solo projects. As the years went by, the band members, particularly Sting, dismissed the possibility of reforming. In 2007, however, the band reformed and undertook a world tour.
Early solo work.
In September 1981, Sting made his first live solo appearance, performing on all 4 nights of the 4th Amnesty International benefit The Secret Policeman's Other Ball in London's Drury Lane Theatre at the invitation of producer Martin Lewis. He performed solo versions of Roxanne and Message in a Bottle. He also led an all-star band, dubbed The Secret Police, on his own arrangement of Bob Dylan's I Shall Be Released. The band and chorus included Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Phil Collins, Bob Geldof and Midge Ure, all of whom except Beck later worked together on Live Aid. His performances were featured prominently in the album and movie of the show and drew critical attention to his work. Sting's participation in The Secret Policeman's Other Ball was the beginning of his growing involvement in raising money and consciousness for political and social causes. In 1982 he released a solo single, Spread a Little Happiness, from the film version of the Dennis Potter television play Brimstone and Treacle. The song was a reinterpretation of a song from the 1920s musical Mr. Cinders by Vivian Ellis, and was a surprise top 20 hit in the UK.
1980s.
His first solo album, 1985's The Dream of the Blue Turtles, featured a cast of jazz musicians, including Kenny Kirkland, Darryl Jones, Omar Hakim and Branford Marsalis. It included the hit singles If You Love Somebody Set Them Free, backed with the non-LP song Another Day, Fortress Around Your Heart, Love is the Seventh Wave, and Russians, the last of which was based on a theme from the Lieutenant Cage suite. Within a year, the album reached triple platinum. This album would garner Sting Grammy nominations for Album of the Year, Best Male Pop Vocal Performance, Best Jazz Instrumental Performance, and Best Engineered Recording. Also in 1985, he sang the line I Want My MTV on Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. He performed this song with Dire Straits at the Live Aid concert at Wembley Stadium. Prior to the Live Aid concert, in November 1984, Sting was part of Band Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas?, which raised money for famine victims in Ethiopia. In 1985, Sting provided a short guest vocal performance on the Miles Davis album You're Under Arrest. He also sang backing vocals on Arcadia's single The Promise, and on 2 songs from Phil Collins' album No Jacket Required. He also contributed a version of Mac the Knife to the Hal Wilner-produced tribute album Lost in the Stars, the music of Kurt Weill. In September 1985, Sting performed If You Love Somebody Set Them Free at the 1985 MTV Video Music Awards at the Radio City Music Hall in New York. The 1986 film Bring on the Night, directed by Michael Apted, documented the formation of the band and its first concert in France. Sting released Nothing Like the Sun in 1987, including the hit songs We'll Be Together, Fragile, Englishman in New York, and Be Still My Beating Heart, dedicated to his mother, who had recently died. It eventually went double platinum. The song The Secret Marriage from this album was adapted from a melody by German composer Hans Eisler, and Englishman in New York was about the eccentric writer Quentin Crisp. The album's title is taken from William Shakespeare's Sonnet 130. The album won Best British Album at the 1988 Brit Awards and in 1989 received 3 Grammy nominations, including his second consecutive nomination for Album of the Year. The hit song Be Still My Beating Heart earned Sting additional nominations for Song of the Year and Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. In 1989, Nothing Like the Sun was ranked number 90 on Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 100 greatest albums of the 1980s. Soon thereafter, in February 1988, he released Nada Como El Sol, a selection of 5 songs from Sun sung, by Sting himself, in Spanish and Portuguese. He was also involved in 2 other recordings in the late 1980s, the first in 1987 with jazz arranger Gil Evans, who placed Sting in a big band setting for a live album of Sting's songs. The CD was not released in the US, and the second on Frank Zappa's 1988 Broadway The Hard Way album, where Sting performs an unusual arrangement of Murder by Numbers, set to the tune Stolen Moments by jazz composer Oliver Nelson, and dedicated to fundamentalist evangelist Jimmy Swaggart. October 1988 saw the release of Igor Stravinsky's The Soldier's Tale with the London Sinfonietta conducted by Kent Nagano. It featured Vanessa Redgrave, Sir Ian McKellen and Sting in the role of the soldier.
1990s.
His 1991 album The Soul Cages was dedicated to his recently deceased father and included the top 10 song All This Time, which reached number 5 on the US pop chart, and the Grammy-winning title track. The album eventually went platinum. The following year, he married Trudy Styler and was awarded an honorary doctorate degree in music from Northumbria University. In 1991, Sting appeared on Two Rooms, celebrating the songs of Elton John and Bernie Taupin, an album dedicated to the singer-songwriter duo. Sting performed Come Down in Time, for the album, which also features other popular artists and their renditions of John Taupin's songs. The album was released on October 22, 1991 by Polydor. Also in 1991, a recording of Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf was made by Deutsche Grammophon, narrated by Sting, and played by Claudio Abbado and the Chamber Orchestra of Europe. This was also used as the soundtrack to the television special Peter and the Wolf, a Prokofiev fantasy. In 1993, he released the album 10 Summoner's Tales, which peaked at number 2 in the UK and US album charts, and went triple platinum in just over a year. 10 Summoner's Tales was nominated for the Mercury Prize in 1993 and nominated for the Grammy Award for Album of the Year in 1994. The title is a wordplay on his surname, Sumner, and The Summoner's Tale, one of the Canterbury Tales. Hit singles on the album include Fields of Gold, and If I Ever Lose My Faith in You. The latter earning Sting his second Grammy Award for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance at the 36th Grammy Awards. Concurrent video albums were released to support Soul Cages, a live concert, and 10 Summoner's Tales, recorded during the recording sessions for the album. In May 1993, he released a cover of his own Police song from the Ghost and the Machine album, Demolition Man, for the Demolition Man film. Together with Bryan Adams and Rod Stewart, Sting performed the chart-topping song All for Love for the film The Three Musketeers. The song stayed at the top of the US charts for 5 weeks and went platinum. It is to date Sting's only song from his post-Police career to top the US charts. In February, he won 2 more Grammy Awards and was nominated for 3 more. The Berklee College of Music gave him his second honorary doctorate of music degree in May. In November, he released a greatest hits compilation called Fields of Gold, the best of Sting, which eventually was certified double platinum. That same year, he was featured in a duet with Vanessa Williams on the song Sister Moon, which appeared on her album The Sweetest Days. At the 1994 Brit Awards in London, Sting won the award for Best British Male. His 1996 album, Mercury Falling, debuted strongly with the single Let Your Soul Be Your Pilot, but it dropped quickly on the charts. He reached a top 40 with 2 singles the same year with You Still Touch Me, June, and I'm So Happy I Can't Stop Crying, December, which became a country music hit the next year in a version recorded with American country singer Toby Keith. During this period, Sting was also recording music for the upcoming Disney film Kingdom of the Sun, which went on to be reworked into The Emperor's New Groove. The film went through drastic overhauls and plot changes, many of which were documented by Sting's wife, Trudy Styler. She captured the moment he was called by Disney, who then informed him that his songs would not be used in the final film. The story was put into a final product, The Sweatbox, which premiered at the Toronto Film Festival. Disney currently holds the rights to the film and will not grant its release. That same year Sting also released a little-known CD-ROM called All This Time, which provided music, commentary and custom computer features describing Sting and his music from his perspective. Also in 1996, he provided some vocals for the Tina Turner single On Silent Wings as a part of her Wildest Dreams album. In the same year, his performance with the Brazilian composer-artist Tom Jobim in the song, How Insensitive was featured in the AIDS benefit album Red Hot Plus Rio produced by the Red Hot organization. Sting has also cooperated with Greek popular singer George Delaras, giving a common concert in Athens. Moonlight, a rare jazz performance by Sting for the 1995 remake of Sabrina, written by Alan Bergman, Marilyn Bergman and John Williams, was nominated for a 1997 Grammy Award for Best Song written specifically for a motion picture or television. On September 4, 1997, Sting performed I'll Be Missing You with Puff Daddy at the 1997 MTV Video Music Awards in tribute of the late Notorious B.I.G. On September 15, 1997, Sting appeared at the Music for Montserrat concert at the Royal Albert Hall, London, performing alongside artists such as Phil Collins, Mark Knopfler, Elton John, Eric Clapton and Paul McCartney.
2000s.
The Emperor's New Groove soundtrack was released with complete songs from the previous version of the film, which included Rascal Flatts and Sean Colvin. The final single used to promote the film was My Funny Friend and Me. Sting's September 1999 album Brand New Day included the top 40 hits Brand New Day and Desert Rose. The album went triple platinum by January 2001. In 2000, he won Grammy Awards for Brand New Day and the song of the same name. At the awards ceremony, he performed Desert Rose with his collaborator on the album version, Cheb Mami. For his performance, the Arab American Institute Foundation gave him the Khalil Gibran Spirit of Humanity Award. In February 2001, he won another Grammy Award for his rendition of She Walks This Earth, Sobrana Rosa, on A Love Affair, the music of Ivan Lins. His song After the Rain Has Fallen made it into the top 40. His next project was to record a live album at his Tuscan villa in Figline in Valdarno, which was to be released as a CD and DVD, as well as being simulcast in its entirety on the Internet. The CD and DVD were to be entitled On Such a Night and was intended to feature reworkings of Sting favorites such as Roxanne, and If You Love Somebody Set Them Free. The concert, scheduled for September 11, 2001, was altered in various ways due to the terrorist attacks in America that day. The webcast was shut down after one song, a reworked version of Fragile, after which Sting let it be up to the audience whether or not to continue with the show. Eventually they decided to go through with the concert, and the resultant album and DVD was released in November under a different title. All This Time. Both are dedicated to all those who lost their lives on that day. He performed a special arrangement of Fragile with Yo-Yo Ma and the Mormon Tabernacle Choir during the opening ceremonies of the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, Utah, U.S. In 2002, he won a Golden Globe Award for the song Until. From the film Kate and Leopold. Written and performed by him, Until was also nominated for Academy Award for Best Song. At the 2002 Brit Awards in February, Sting received the prize for Outstanding Contribution to Music. In June he was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In the Queen's Birthday Honours 2003 Sting was appointed a Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire for services to the music industry. At the 54th Primetime Emmy Awards in September, Sting won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Individual Performance in a Variety or Music Program, for his A&E special, Sting in Tuscany. All This Time. In 2003, Sting released Sacred Love, a studio album featuring collaborations with hip-hop artist Mary J. Blige and sitar performer Anushka Shankar. He and Blige won a Grammy for their duet, Whenever I Say Your Name. The song is based on Johann Sebastian Bach's Preambulum 1C Major, BWV 924, from the Klavierbuchlein für Wilhelm Friedemann Bach, though Sting gave little comment on this adaptation. The album did not have the hit singles like his previous releases. The first single, Send Your Love, reached only number 30 and reviews were mixed. However, the album did reach platinum status by January 2004. His autobiography Broken Music was published in October. He embarked on a Sacred Love tour in 2004 with performances by Annie Lennox. Sting went on the Broken Music Tour, touring smaller venues, with a four-piece band starting in Los Angeles on March 28, 2005 and ending this college tour on May 14, 2005. Sting appears as a guest on the 2005 Monkey Business CD by American hip-hop group The Black Eyed Peas, adding vocals to the track Union, which makes heavy use of samples from his Englishman in New York. Continuing with his involvement in Live Aid, he appeared at Live Aid in July 2005. During 2006, Sting collaborated with Roberto Levi in producing a Spanish-language version of his cult classic Fragile entitled Fragilidad on the album Rhythms del Mundo by Latino recording legends The Buena Vista Sound, previously known as the Buena Vista Social Club, available via apuke.org. During 2006, Sting was guest on the Greg Kofi Brown album, with the song Lullaby to an Anxious Child produced and arranged by the Italian Lino Nicolosi and Pino Nicolos, Nicolosi Productions. The song was written by Sting and Dominic Miller. In October 2006, he released an album, to mixed reviews, entitled Songs from the Labyrinth featuring the music of John Dowland, an Elizabethan-era composer, and accompaniment from Bosnian lute player Edin Karamazov. Sting's musical interpretation of this English Renaissance composer and his cooperation with Edin Karamazov brought him significant recognition in classical music circles. As a part of the promotion of this album, he appeared on the fifth episode of Studio 60 during which he performed a segment of Dowland's Come Again as well as his own Fields of Gold in the arrangement for voice and two arch lutes. Reports surfaced in early 2007 that Sting would reunite with his former Police bandmates for a 30th anniversary tour. These rumors were confirmed on various other news websites such as Der Standard, Yahoo, etc. In May 2007, Deutsche Grammophon released the opera Welcome to the Voice, composer Steve Niv, with Sting portraying Dionysos. On February 11, 2007, he reunited with the other members of the Police as the introductory act for the 2007 Grammy Awards, singing Roxanne, and subsequently announced the Police reunion tour, the first concert of which was held in Vancouver on May 28, 2007 for 22,000 fans at one of two nearly sold-out concerts. The Police toured for more than a year, beginning with North America and eventually crossing over to Europe, South America, Australia, New Zealand and Japan. The last concert was at Madison Square Garden on August 7, 2008, during which his three daughters appeared with him on stage. Toronto documentary producer Vanessa Dillon, who was producing a film called The Musical Brain, featuring neuroscientist Daniel Levitin, approached Sting about participating in the film. Sting was interested in the experience of having his brain scanned by fMRI while different types of music were played to him. The film was financed by CTV in Canada and National Geographic International, broadcast internationally as My Music Brain. Sting was also featured in Levitin's second book, The World in 6 Songs, where several of his songs, including Russians, are discussed. Brand New Day was the final song of the night for the Neighborhood Ball, one of 10 inaugural balls honoring President Barack Obama on Inauguration Day, January 20, 2009. Sting was joined by Stevie Wonder on harmonica. According to an article posted on his official website, Sting entered the studio in early February 2009 to begin work on a new album If on a Winter's Night. Released on October 2009. Initial reviews by fans that had access to early promotional copies were mixed, and some questioned Sting's artistic direction with this album. In 2009, Sting appeared at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 25th anniversary concert, playing Higher Ground, and Roxanne with Stevie Wonder. Sting himself was inducted in 2003, as a member of the Police. In October 2009, Sting played a concert in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, for an arts and cultural festival. Despite claiming he thought the concert was sponsored by UNICEF, he faced criticism in the press for receiving a payment of between £1 and £2 million from Uzbek President, Islam Karimov, for the performance. Karimov is accused by UN and Amnesty of human rights abuses, and UNICEF stated they had no connection with the event.
2010s.
In 2010 to 2011, Sting continued his Synchronicity Tour, touring South Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, South America and Europe. In the second half of 2011, Sting began his Back to Base tour, which would continue, with periodic breaks, through 2013. In 2011, Time magazine named Sting one of the 100 most influential people in the world. On April 26 he performed Every Breath You Take, Roxanne, and Desert Rose at the Time 100 Gala in New York City. Sting recorded a song called Powers Out with Nicole Scherzinger. The song, originally recorded in 2007, was to have been included on Scherzinger's shelved album Her Name Is Nicole. The song was released on Scherzinger's 2011 debut album Killer Love. Sting recorded a new version of the song Let Your Soul Be Your Pilot as a duet with Glee actor-singer Matthew Morrison, which appears on Morrison's 2011 eponymous debut album. On September 15, 2011, Sting performed Fragile at the 92nd Street Y in New York City, to honor the memory of his friend, financier-philanthropist Herman Sangela, who died in the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center. For several years, Sting has been working on a musical, The Last Ship, partially inspired by his album The Soul Cages. In 2013, the musical had a staged reading. The Last Ship tells a story about the demise of the shipbuilding industry in 1980s Newcastle, and will debut in Chicago in June 2014 before transferring to Broadway in the autumn. Sting's 11th studio album, titled The Last Ship and inspired by the play, was released on September 24, 2013. In February 2014, Sting began a tour with legendary artist Paul Simon, after playing together at a charity event and enjoying the result. The On Stage Together tour features both artists performing their own works as well as collaborating on tunes such as The Boxer, and Brand New Day, and has been met with critical acclaim for the stylistic synchronicities and the harmonic balance their voices achieve.
Filmography.
Sting has also ventured into acting. Film and television roles include Quadrophenia, 1979, The Ace Face, The King of the Mods, a.k.a. The Bellboy in the film adaptation of the Who album, Radio On, 1980, Just Like Eddie, Artemis 81, 1981, The Angel Heleth, BBC TV film, Brimstone and Treacle, 1982, Martin Taylor, A Drifter, Dune, 1984, Funeral the Harkonnen, Titus Groan, Steerpike, BBC Radio 4 broadcasts based on the Mervyn Peake novels, Gomenast, 1984, Steerpike, Plenty, 1985, Mick, A Black Marketeer, The Bride, 1985, Baron Frankenstein, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, 1988, A Heroic Officer, Stormy Monday, 1988, Finney, A Nightclub Owner, Julia and Julia, 1988, Daniel, A British Gentleman, Saturday Night Live, 1991, Host, Various, The Grotesque, 1995, A.K.A. Gentlemen Don't Eat Poets and Grave Indiscretion, Fledge, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, 1998, J.D., Eddie's father and owner of a bar, Bring on the Night, 1985, The Simpsons episode Radio Bart, 1992, The Smell of Reeves and Mortimer episode 5, 1995, The Larry Sanders Show episode, Where is the Love? 1996, Ally McBeal season 4 episode Cloudy Skies, Chance of Parade, 2001, Everyone Stares, The Police Inside Out, 2006, Studio 60 on Sunset Strip, 2006, Vicar of Dibley Comic Relief Special, 2007, B-Movie, 2007, Little Britain USA, 2008, as Stomp, the lead singer of The Cops, playing Fields of Gold, Bruno, 2009, Still Bill, 2009, Do It Again, 2010, Life's Too Short, 2011, The Michael J. Fox Show, 2013, Singing August Wind from The Last Ship. Sting narrated the American premiere of the musical Yanomamo, 1983, by Peter Rose and Ann Conan, outlining problems that existed in the Amazon rainforest. This was made into a film and later broadcast as Song of the Forest. He also provided the voice of Zam on the 1990s television show Captain Planet and the Planeteers. In 1989 he starred as Mackie Mac the Knife, in John Dexter's Broadway production of the Threepenny Opera. Sting also appeared as himself in the video game Guitar Hero World Tour.
Activism.
Sting's first involvement in the human rights cause came in September 1981 when he was invited by producer Martin Lewis to participate in the 4th Amnesty International Gala The Secret Policeman's Other Ball following the example set at the 1979 show by Pete Townshend. Sting performed 2 of his police compositions as a soloist, Roxanne and Message in a Bottle, appearing on all 4 nights of the show at the Theatre Royal in London. Sting also led an impromptu supergroup of other musicians, dubbed the Secret Police, performing at the show including Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Phil Collins, Donovan, Bob Geldof and Midge Ure. In the show's grand finale, Sting's own reggae-tinged arrangement of Bob Dylan's One Shall Be released. The event was the first time that Sting had worked with Geldof, Collins and Ure, an association that developed further with 1984's Band Aid and 1985's Live Aid. Sting's performance at the Secret Policeman's Other Ball, his first live appearances as a solo performer, was prominently featured on the album of the show, being its lead tracks, and in the feature film of the show. His association with Amnesty continued throughout the 1980s and beyond, and he was a pioneering participant in many of Amnesty's human rights concerts, a series of music events and tours staged by the U.S. section of Amnesty International between 1986 and 1998. In June 1986, Sting reunited with the Police for the last 3 shows of Amnesty's 6-date A Conspiracy of Hope concerts of the U.S. The day after the final concert, he was interviewed on NBC's Today Show about the origins of his support for Amnesty International, and he stated, "I've been a member of Amnesty and a support member for 5 years, due to an entertainment event called the Secret Policeman's Ball, and before that I did not know about Amnesty, I did not know about its work, I did not know about torture in the world." Also in 1986, Sting contributed a haunting song made famous by Billie Holiday, Strange Fruit, to a fundraising compilation album entitled Conspiracy of Hope, honoring Amnesty International's 25th anniversary. In 1988 he joined a team of other major musicians, including Peter Gabriel and Bruce Springsteen, assembled under the banner of Amnesty International for the 6-week Human Rights Now World Tour commemorating the 40th anniversary of the signing of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Sting had first shown his interest in social and political issues in his 1980 Police song Driven to Tears, an angry indictment of apathy in the face of world hunger. Sting took part in Bob Geldof's Feed the World project in December 1984. Sting sang on Do They Know It's Christmas?, the single recorded by Geldof's supergroup Band Aid that eventually led to the Live Aid concert in July 1985, in which Sting also took part, performing with Branford Marsalis, Phil Collins and Dire Straits. In 1988, he released the single They Dance Alone, which chronicled a plight of the mothers, wives and daughters of the disappeared, the political opponents of the regime killed by the Pinochet government in Chile. Unable to publicly voice their grievances to the government about their missing loved ones, for fear that they would go missing too, the women of Chile would pin photos of their disappeared relatives on their clothing, and dance in silent outrage against the government in public places. Later, Sting would perform the song on stage in Chile and Argentina, dancing with some of those same women. He has said it was one of the most moving moments in his life. With his wife Trudy Styler and Roni Metiktyre, a Kaiapó Indian leader in Brazil, Sting founded the Rainforest Foundation Fund to help save the rainforests and protect the rights of the indigenous peoples living there. In 1989 he flew to the Altamira gathering to give a press conference offering his support while promoting his charity. His support for these causes continues to this day, and includes an annual benefit concert held at New York's Carnegie Hall with Billy Joel, Elton John, James Taylor and other music superstars. A species of Colombian tree frog, Dendropsopho stingi, was named after him in recognition of his commitment and efforts to save the rainforest. On October 21, 1991, Sting joined Don Henley and Billy Joel at New York's Madison Square Garden for a benefit rock show, The Concert for Walden Woods. On September 15, 1997, Sting joined Sir Paul McCartney, Eric Clapton, Sir Elton John, Phil Collins and Mark Knopfler at London's Royal Albert Hall for Music for Montserrat, a benefit concert for the Caribbean island that had recently been devastated by an eruption from a volcano. Sting and his wife Trudy Styler were awarded the Peace Abbey Courage of Conscience Award in Sherborne, Massachusetts on June 30, 2000. Singer-songwriter, documentary film producers for their commitment to the environment through the establishment of the Rainforest Foundation. To human rights in China through the documentary film on Tiananmen Square. And to peace and social justice through the powerful gift of song. In September 2001, Sting also took part in the post-9/11 Rock Telethon America, a tribute to heroes singing Fragile to help raise money for the families of the victims of terror attacks in the United States. Sting lost a close friend in the collapse of New York's World Trade Center Twin Towers. In February 2005, Sting performed at the Liane Estate Concert Series in Western Australia, with the concert raising $4 million for the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami relief efforts. On July 2, 2005, Sting performed a complete set at the Live 8 concert, the follow-up to 1985's Live Aid concert. In 2007, Sting joined Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland and played the closing set at the Live Earth concert at Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Joined by John Mayer and Kanye West, Sting and the Police fittingly ended the show singing Message in a Bottle, as the event was dubbed the SOS Concert. In 2008 Sting contributed to an album called Songs for Tibet, to support Tibet and the current Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso. On January 22, 2010, Sting performed Driven to Tears during the global telethon Hope for Haiti Now. On April 25, 2010, he performed on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. during the 40th anniversary celebration of Earth Day. In 2010, Sting became a patron of the poverty alleviation and beekeeping charity Bees for Development. In 2011, Sting was among more than 30 signatories to an open letter to British Prime Minister David Cameron calling for the immediate decriminalisation of drug possession if a policy review shows it has failed. Sting was quoted, "Giving young people criminal records for minor drug possession serves little purpose, it is time to think of more imaginative ways of addressing drug use in our society." On July 4, 2011, Sting cancelled a concert appearance scheduled for the Astana Day Festival in Astana, Kazakhstan. Amnesty International convinced him to cancel the appearance, due to concerns over the rights of Kazakh oil and gas workers and their families. It was later discovered that BG Gabara told undercover reporters from the Bureau for Investigative Journalism that it was proposing to the Kazakh officials that they generate an online social media campaign by Kazakh children who were upset about the cancellation. He is a patron of the Elton John AIDS Foundation. On November 2, 2012, Sting appeared on Hurricane Sandy, Coming Together and sang a solo acoustic rock version of Message in a Bottle to help raise funds for the American Red Cross in support of those affected by the storm which hit the east coast of the United States earlier that week. The show reportedly raised $23 million. From September 25 through October 9, 2013, Sting performed a series of benefit concerts to raise funds for New York's Public Theater and contributed over $2 million in support of free performances at Shakespeare in the Park. Sting and longtime collaborators performed songs from The Last Ship.
Personal life.
Sting married actress Frances Tomalty from Northern Ireland, on May 1, 1976. Before they divorced in 1984, the couple had two children, Joseph, born November 23, 1976, and Freya Catherine, a.k.a. Kate, born April 17, 1982. In 1980, Sting became a tax exile and moved to Galway in Ireland. In 1982, shortly after the birth of his second child, Sting separated from Tomalty and began living with actress, and later film producer, Trudy Styler. The couple eventually married on August 22, 1992 in an 11th-century chapel in Wiltshire, southwest England. Sting and Styler have 4 children: Bridget Michael, a.k.a. Mickey, born January 19, 1984, Jake, born May 24, 1985, Elliot Pauline, nicknamed Coco, born July 30, 1990, and Giacomo Luke, born December 17, 1995. Coco is the current singer and founder of the London-based group I Blame Coco. Giacomo Luke is the inspiration behind the name of Kentucky Derby winning horse Giacomo. Both of Sting's parents died from cancer in the 1980s, his mother in 1986, and his father in 1987. He did not, however, attend either funeral, stating that the media circus would be disrespectful to his parents. In 1995, Sting prepared for a court appearance against his former accountant who had misappropriated several £1 million of his money. Sting owns several homes worldwide, including Elizabethan Manor House Lake House and its 60-acre country estate near Salisbury, Wiltshire. A country cottage in the Lake District. A New York City flat. A beach house in Malibu. A 600-acre, 2.4 kilometers (2) estate in Tuscany, Italy. And 2 properties in London, a flat on the Mall, and an 18th-century terrace house in Highgate. Sting was estimated to have a fortune of £180 million in the Sunday Times Rich list of 2011, making him one of the 10 richest people in the British music industry. To keep physically fit, for years Sting ran 5 miles, 8 kilometers, a day and performed aerobics. He participated in running races at Parliament Hill and charity runs similar to the British 10K. Around 1990 he met Danny Paradise, who introduced him to yoga, and he later began practicing regularly. His practice consisted primarily of an Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga series, though now he practices Tantra and Ivamukti yoga as well. He wrote a foreword to the book Yoga Beyond Belief, written by Ganga White in 2007. In 2008 he was reported to be a practitioner of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's transcendental meditation technique. An avid chess player, Sting played Garry Kasparov in an exhibition game in 2000, along with 4 bandmates, Dominic Miller, Jason Rebello, Chris Botti and Russ Irwin. Kasparov beat all 5 simultaneously within 50 minutes. Formerly eating only animals that he brought up himself, Sting now adheres to a macrobiotic diet. In 1969 Sting read the Gourmet trilogy by Mervyn Peake and became a passionate fan. He later bought the film rights to the books, and also named Household Pets, a racehorse, his publishing company, and even one of his daughters, Fuchsia, after characters from the books. Sting is a supporter of his hometown football team Newcastle United, and in 2009, backed a Newcastle United supporters campaign against the controversial plan of owner Mike Ashley to sell off the naming rights to St James Park. When asked about his religious beliefs in a 2011 interview with Time, Sting stated, "I'm essentially agnostic. I don't have a problem with God. I have a problem with religion. I've chosen to live my life without the certainties of religious faith. I think they're dangerous. Music is something that gives my life value and spiritual solace."
Discography. The Police.
Outlandos Dama, 1978, Regatta de Blanc, 1979, Zenyatta Mondata, 1980, Ghost in the Machine, 1981, Synchronicity, 1983.
Solo.
The Dream of the Blue Turtles, 1985, Nothing Like the Sun, 1987, The Soul Cages, 1991, 10 Summoner's Tales, 1993, Mercury Falling, 1996, Brand New Day, 1999, Sacred Love, 2003, Songs from the Labyrinth, 2006, If on a Winter's Night, 2009, Symphonicities, 2010, The Last Ship, 2013.
Bibliography.
2009 The Words and Music of Sting, Christopher Gable, Praeger, ISBN 978-0-275-99360-3, 2007. Lyrics by Sting, Simon & Schuster, ISBN 978-1-84737-167-6, 2003. Autobiography. Broken Music, Simon & Schuster, ISBN 0-7434-5081-7, 2005. Biography. Sting and I, James Berryman, John Blake, ISBN 1-84454-107-X, 2000. Authorized biography. A Sting in the Tale, James Berryman, Mirage Publishing, ISBN 1-900-2578-13-9, 1998. Biography. Sting, Demolition Man, Christopher Sanford, Little, Brown & Company, ISBN 0-316-64372-6.
Awards and nominations.